Hey, good morning. Pat Zemer here with Office Hours for this Tuesday morning, 9 o'clock edition, AM edition of Office Hours. I'm glad to be here. I always enjoy answering questions that anyone may have about Magna Wave, PEMF therapy, about our products, about the services we offer, anything from that perspective, and how things go with regard to how people use their Magna Wave devices, whether it's for personal use, business use, whatever it may be. I like to do this again to answer questions. So any questions that you may have at this point, please feel free to put those questions out there, and I'd be happy to answer them for you, whatever they may be. So let's see here. I'm trying to see where I am on the pages here, so I can take a look at to see if make sure that we're on and that you can ask any questions that you may have. I should have had this done. I apologize. I got a little bit behind the eight ball here as I was setting this up this morning. But we're good to go, and we'll be happy to answer the questions that you have. Let's see if we've got some folks with us this morning. Let me pull it up, refresh it. We'll be ready to go. I do have some questions that people have asked me through the week and yesterday, so we'll certainly get to those questions as well. So we can, yep, there we go. And Shelley Clark-Blankston is with us this morning. So if you have some questions, it looks like there are several other folks that have chimed in. So if you have a question, just post it on the page here. I'll be able to see it. Hello, Ronald. Nice to have you with us this morning. And Shelley said good morning. And again, it's nice to have you with us. So let me get right into some of the questions that have been asked. Is it safe to use around metal implants? And that's a very good question that we get asked a lot. And actually the first question was, I put that one in. The first question was, is it safe to use around if people have had fillings in their mouth, and how will that affect what's going on? Well, if they're metal fillings and you're holding the loop up to the face, for example, let's say we're treating for TMJ, or we're treating for someone who wants to do some work on wrinkles or sinuses, whatever it may be, that you're holding the coil up to the face to let the signal penetrate into the face, certainly you want to do it at a level that's very comfortable. What I often do, and of course it depends on the device that you have. For example, if someone has a semi and they put it up here, they may start on low, because the semi has 3 different settings. They may start on low, and if a person is comfortable and they want to put it up to medium and they're still feeling comfortable, they may feel a little twitching on the eye if you're treating that particular area. And if they have fillings, they may all of a sudden, it's conceivable that they feel a little vibration, if you will. It's not vibration, but they feel the movement, not movement, poor choice of words, but they just feel it. They have a nerve feeling that they just feel it in there where the areas of their fillings are, but yet they're comfortable, leave it alone. If they're not feeling anything and they've got the coil here, there's 2 ways to control that. Let's say to have the Pulse Pro or the Max machine or the Maya machine, and you begin to turn it up, and I can feel it there a little bit. That's a little more twitching than I want around my eye. Two things: turn it down or move the coil away. So you can just pull the coil away a ½ inch or an inch, and bingo. Comfort is there. They're still receiving the signal. So in that respect, if you have fillings or something like that, they can certainly move the coil, adjust the machine to make sure that they're comfortable. And it's okay to feel it. It's not I have fillings, and it's not comfortable for me to feel it in my feelings. So in my fillings. It's not comfortable to feel it in my fillings. So what I will do is I will get the setting that's comfortable, or I will move the coil away to where I don't feel it in my fillings, and then I'm good to go for the treatment, whether I'm going this way or if I'm treating over here, if I'm treating tinnitus and I want it over by my ear. I'm still going through this area, so I could feel it on this side in my fillings, and so I will adjust accordingly. And then that lends itself to the next question that I first asked: can you use it around metal implants? I received that question yesterday afternoon, and it's a question that we get all the time when we approach this, and that question is typically yes. They're big enough. The next thing that comes, will it loosen the screws? Will it pull the implants out? People think of magnetic field as being a field that draws. Number one, the materials that they use in your body typically are not magnetic. in any form, but you can have it around there, and so it's not, the pulsing is not going to cause anything to loosen up, cause anything to disconnect, or anything like that. It will pulse through that area and help any sensation or any issue that you're having there. Quite often people have screws and bolts and things in their shoulder, for example, and they still have some shoulder pain. So the question is, can we use it over those metal implants? The question is yes. And it's always good to, if you have somebody, or if you're being checked, if you have those and you want to be treated, just put the coil on, treat yourself for a few minutes, see how it feels. You'll notice that there's no issue with it. So a couple very good questions that were asked with regard to metal implants. It looks like we have another one from Ronald. For a patient with sleep problems, would the double coil on the top of the head be appropriate? With the semi, should it be on low, medium, or high, and what time frame would you suggest? Great question, Ronald, Dr. Witchen. You could do that. You could put a coil right on the top of the head, very moderately treat. I would say on the semi, you'd be at low, maybe medium if they're comfortable. There's no reason, I think, for the medium to produce discomfort, but I don't know that I would do high at that point on the top of someone's head. But, you know, when it deals with sleep, the overall thing, that there's a couple things that you might think about. Sometimes you might do the back of the head as well, just this area right through here. Many people have done the feet when we're dealing with sleep. And frankly, an overall, if you had someone sit on the mat or sit on a coil and just get good blood oxygenation through their chest, good blood flow, it's very calming and will quite often lead to a more restful sleep experience. Back when we first started, all we had was the large coil and the butterflies. So quite often, if we wanted to help our sleep, we would go to bed, put the coil over our shoulders or at our shoulders, run it for 6 to 8 minutes on a comfortable setting, and then turn it off or give it to me or whatever. My wife would use it, do the same thing, and it's very productive to the sleep cycle to use it in that fashion. So, but Doc, you're absolutely right. If you want to do the sleep area of the brain, or you want to work the brain to relax the head and provide relaxation through the upper neck and the whole thing while you're treating, excellent suggestion, excellent thought. So I hope that helps with that type of thing. As I said, low or high time frame, I would say 8 to 10 minutes. So you'd run a cycle on the semi. To do that. If you wanted to do 5 here and 5 here, you might just run a half cycle, keep your watch, and then put it down here, and maybe even do 3, 3, and 3 on the feet, or 10 and 5 on the feet. That type of guideline is something that may work with regard to that. Great question. Thank you very much. Let's see if any other questions. Looks okay at this point. So if you're watching and you have a question, please put the question up there, and I'd be happy to answer it. Again, whatever your question. This is just like office hours when you were in school. You want to go sit down with your instructor. I'm certainly not your instructor. I've got some experience in this certainly, but I want to be able to answer those questions that you may have. And there's a lot of questions that folks have that they want to present. Let's see here if I've had another one. Yes. And this is another very good question. This deals with the devices. Is there some calibration or tune-up to be made on the machines after a certain amount of use? And, you know, we have 2 types of machines. We have the analog machines and we have the digital machines. The analog machines operate with a spark chamber, or plasma chamber as some folks call it. And there are electrical diodes that there's a spark that passes between the 2 diodes. Now those diodes are metal, and they can wear down with the charge hitting it all the time. So over a period of hours, a large number of hours, let's say 800 to 1,000 hours, quite often those things are beginning to wear a little bit. The only difference to that would be in some cases, if you're treating athletes and you're doing knees and ankles and elbows and shoulders all the time, to where you're turning the machine quite high, in some cases all the way up that the machine will allow you to go, those diodes are going to wear quicker they're going to wear more quickly. So in that case, where you're treating an athletic person on a high setting all the time, or if you're treating horses and you're doing the same thing with knees and ankles and feet, to where you're dealing with abscesses, 500 hours may be that point that it's time to have that spark chamber refurbished and ready to go. Not an expensive operation at all, but that's not a forced calibration. It's due to wear and usage. Now, on the digital machines, when you talk about those, and the spark at that point, or the energy used to produce the signal that supplies the energy to the body, is basically a computer program and a computer type of reaction. So providing that nothing else goes wrong in the device, they should never need recalibration. They will just keep right on going. When you set it on the setting and you turn it on, it should deliver that amount of energy every time, which was one of the things that we wanted to produce for the FDA. They kind of liked an idea, and a lot of docs do as well, certainly, that you can say, I treated this person on medium every time, and once in a while we'd go to high, or we started on low. Or if you're using the Maya, you want to be able to say, I treat this person on a 3, or their guidelines or their treatments have been 3, now we're up to 7, or we started on 7, now we're down to 3. So you can keep those accurate type of records. On the analog devices, it's spring driven, so you turn it up to where you hear a clicking sound, or you turn it up to where it's considered moderate. You learn that, and you keep your notes accordingly. So that is the difference. The spark chamber machines can require some refurbishment of the spark chamber over time. The digital machines typically would not. Now, that's not to preclude if your machine falls down the stairs and there's a diode in there that's hooked to this that goes to over there, could that pop loose at some point in time due to an issue? Yes. Is it planned? No. The capacitors on these machines, I've got machines that have been in the marketplace now for almost 15 years, and the capacitors are operating just like they did the day they rolled off the floor, as long as everything is maintained and it works okay. So that's a question, very good question actually, that some folks have asked in the past with regard to calibration. Some devices have a specific time. You can turn it on and it'll work for so many hours as it goes. Or if it's a device, a shockwave device, if you will, it can deliver so many charges, and then you need to buy another set of charges. That's not the case with these devices. You don't have to keep buying a program or pay per click or per minute that it is used. And there are some PEMF devices on the market used in chiropractic offices and acupuncture offices that do that. It's a subscription type of program, so you use it for X amount of time. And that leads me to a question. I was at a conference this weekend, or a meeting this weekend, and I was asked the question by an acupuncturist, well, how would I work this into my practice? Why would an acupuncturist use this? And I pointed out that quite often when an acupuncturist or a chiropractor or a massage therapist or someone like that is doing their work, they're giving you a relief of muscle strain, they're giving you a relief of the chiropractor, how you are connected. Are you aligned? Is everything the way it's supposed to be? The acupuncturist wants to help relieve, open the meridians, and make things flow through your body the way they're supposed to. Quite often in those situations when we're done, you still have some pain. The pain doesn't go away immediately. You may be realigned, you may be opened up, you may have feel better after the massage, but you still have some pain in your lower back. Well, that's where the Magna Wave can be very beneficial to the massage therapist or the acupuncturist, that once you've completed, or the chiropractor, once you've completed your routine, then this can help the overall well-being more. It can help relieve the inflammation, so what you did will conceivably last longer. The person will feel good, the inflammation is being reduced, the pain can potentially be reduced more, and they're going on about their business in a happy, healthy lifestyle way. And so that's how, to answer that acupuncturist's question, then you have whole situations. Do I do it before my treatment or after? In acupuncture, you don't do it before, you do it after, because the system will actually stimulate acupuncture points. So the acupuncturist would want to do their magic, use their tools first, and then you use the Magna Wave after as a support mechanism. In chiropractic, chiropractic, you could use it before, which in many cases will make the adjustment easier. We have that a lot in the horse world, where the horse needs to be adjusted, but that's a big animal. We're talking about a lot of weight, 1,000, 1,200 pounds or more in some cases, and so it takes a lot of physical activity to manipulate that horse. If you loosen them up first with the Magna Wave, it makes that manipulation easier, and then you use the Magna Wave after to help with the inflammation reduction and the pain relief, and the treatment can then, in effect, last longer. Or be more effective in what you were looking to do. So there are various times that the device fits very well as a complementary method with the particular practice that you're in or how you're using it, whether that be people, small animals, or horses. All right, let's see. This is a horse question that I was asked. The person, she has a mare that was found out this weekend to have a fractured neck, C4, 5, and 6 area. How long and how often should I treat the area? They told me to keep her stalled for 60 to 90 days, depending how it is healing. The vets are concerned about scar tissue building up and the potentiality of bothering nerves in that area. Now, I didn't get all the aspect of the question, but a couple of things. When it comes to that type of situation, the bone healing, PEMF therapy, Magna Wave therapy has been found to improve the healing time or the speed of healing by a third, and sometimes to a half. People, by this improved oxygenation and blood flow and the body better using the nutrients that's available to it, the healing process is enhanced. How often? Well, if you have a machine at your disposal or money is not part of the thing, I would do it every day for the first 8 to 10 days and then drop back to every other day, every other third day or so for a week or two, and then once a week or twice a week through the healing time and see how that healing progresses. If not, and you're in a situation that the machine can only be to you once a week, treat it once a week. You're going to make the area happier. You're going to make the oxygenation better as you are in those situations. So all of that is good with regard to that. Now, if the question was the vets are concerned about scar tissue building, or as they talked about potentially bothering nerves in that area, Magna Wave PEMF and PEMF in general is used extensively in the human world in cosmetic situations where you have some cosmetic work done and you have the potentiality of scarring. PEMF will, in fact, keep scarring from building up and will help the softness of the scarring so it's not visible as much. So it enhances the ability for the body to deal with scarring in a manner that can reduce and soften the scarring type of situation. And we've had, for example, I've had racehorses that have had a lot of scarring on their ankle from an injury, and it's solid and hard and beginning to impede how the ankle is working or the knee is working. Well, with active treatments with the Magna Wave, we can soften the area and allow it to maintain its flexibility. Can we remove scarring that's there for a long time? No, that's not going to happen. Now, if you get it scarring soon enough, the quicker you get to the indication where there was a need for, or whether it's an injury or something that was caused, the sooner you get to it, the more you can make the scarring less evident and keep the buildup of scar tissue at a minimum, only what the body needs to make it healed and sealed, if you will. And with regard to potentially bothering nerves in the area, people have this feeling that this pulsing is going to shake things up and make them more irritated. Well, in fact, where we see the pulsing or feel the pulsing as it's penetrating through the nerves, if you put the device, if you put it on your shoulder and you see your shoulder moving, if you take that same coil, same setting, and put it on your hand, you may not feel it because there's not as much tissue around that for it to stimulate to where you see it or feel it as much. Well, the same thing as it moves through the body. All of these areas in the body have less concentrations of tissue around them. The tissue's out here. The tissue's not necessarily at the bone. So when it goes through the bone, the energy that's pulsing here passes through the bone, with no necessary pulsing. Passes through the fibers because they're small. There's not a lot of tissue around them. So it's not necessary, as I talked about with metal implants, it's not shaking everything up causing that to happen. It's simply putting the energy through the area. Is it visible at the surface and felt at the surface yet? Yes, but as it moves through the areas that are smaller, it can go right through comfortably and very effectively. So to answer her question, it would not necessarily, it would actually help the nerves be less inflamed, and because nerve inflammation builds slower than tissue inflammation, and it's also harder to get out of a nerve because they are nourished by the blood, but there's no blood as such in the nerves. So that's how it works in that regard. Great question, and so hopefully she'll see an improvement in the healing speed of her horse over this whole time period. It's not about always, of course, there are people who want to compete that, well, I need to get back on my horse. My horse needs to get back in the ring. I need to get the horse back on the track. I want to ride my horse on this trail ride next Tuesday, or I want to be able to compete in this soccer match. So I need to heal as rapidly as possible. Sure, we're in an age of where people want instant gratification and they want this to happen. But what we're really all about is what this therapy allows the body to do is, all we do is basically set the cell membrane up so it can better take on oxygen, better deal in the mitochondrial level, help reduce inflammation, help relieve pain. Basically all that does is, we're not really doing anything but put some energy into the body, energy supplementation into the body, allowing the body to position itself to better heal itself. And so do we get a result from that maybe it's a little healed quicker? That's wonderful. Or more quickly. That's wonderful. Is that what we're after? No, what we're really after is good healing, good well-being, improvement of the whole situation. So that's kind of where we're going in that regard. Very good question. If you have any other questions, folks, please, got that one. Oh, here we go. I do have one. My equine chiropractor loves the Magna Wave. The only thing she doesn't want me to treat a horse before her session due to it's more difficult to find pain, but because the horse is so relaxed. But most of her clients coordinate with me after the sessions. Jason Bill, that's a very good question. It's the first time I've ever heard it presented from an equine chiropractor's perspective. What I've seen chiropractors do, and really that's true. If you did a horse, and I think what Jason is saying is that if I treated a horse this morning in its entirety, and then the chiropractor came out this afternoon and wanted to feel the horse and manipulate around the horse to know where the treatment needed to be applied, or know where the alignment needed to be, sometimes you can relax the horse to where the alignment situation is not as prevalent. You don't see it perhaps as easily or feel it perhaps as easily. I never thought about that. I've had that situation with acupuncturists a lot. We want to treat after the acupuncturist, not before, because they have the same type of issue. But the way a lot of folks have done it is, if they have a machine at their disposal, is they'll look at the horse, they'll feel the horse. In fact, I was in California last year with Luke, and we were with a guy that did horse equine chiropractic, and we kept saying, we're going to make this horse easier for you to adjust. And the guy kept saying, no, you're not. Well, so he kind of explained where he had his difficulty adjusting the horse, and Luke treated that area of the horse and before he did the adjustment, and the adjustment was easier. So what I'm saying there is, in some cases, Jason's absolutely right. Maybe the chiropractor doesn't want it done, but if the chiropractor knows that I'm going to treat the horse and knows where the issue is, then they may say, treat the shoulders real good, or treat the shoulders and neck, because that's where I have to do a good adjustment. And they already know what's going on. And so that's how that could play out. Great question. Jason, that really is a great question. Never thought about it from that perspective. We've talked a lot about it being used prior to chiropractic to make the chiropractic adjustment, in fact, easier, but not so much as to will it make it more difficult for the chiropractor to see where the issue is. Thank you so much. Great question. Other questions, folks, please throw them out there, and I'd be happy to answer them at this time. Let's see. Oh, I gave my guideline for the question on the areas C5, 4, 5, and 6 with the neck fracture. So those are the questions that I had. We've been going for about a half hour. If you have Some other questions? Jason, thanks for the spot on remark or the comment. I appreciate that. It's always interesting when we get into these things how much you can move from one little question will lead you down several different ways. There was a question yesterday that was asked, and some of our competitors, and this is not, I don't mean to talk about competitors, but some competitors will make comments like, this machine is 2 times stronger than any machine on the market. And well, what's that mean? And 2 times stronger than what machine? 2 times stronger than based on what criteria? And so then the person that called and was talking with us said, well, so I called you and I was talking to you guys, and you'll talk about a specific Gauss delivery or a specific energy delivery that the machines have delivered. And so I call this other competitor back and say, okay, well, they said this. And then the comment is, well, there's really no way to measure accurately measure the amount of Gauss that these are being delivered. There's really no machines out there or meters out there that will measure that. And so in one sense, they're 2 times stronger. Then in the next sense, there's no way for us or anybody else to measure the signals and what are those measurements based upon. And frankly, I'm telling you a little story, and it's opened up a whole area of discussion with regard to Gauss numbers and how things are measured and delivered. There is, in fact, a gauge that we had custom made. There were 5 of them at one point. There are a few more now, but a gauge that will read and measure the strength or the Gauss output or Tesla output of our devices, and frankly, any other device that has a signal that starts and stops. The problem that people have had with measuring the Gauss output of their machines is that most magnetometers that measure wave strength or Gauss delivery strength measure waves that are continual. They've got something that when you turn the device on, you've got a wave, a signal that continues that you can kind of lock in on. I guess much like you're locking in on the target. It locks in on it and it can measure it up and down, and come up with this is what's delivered as a norm from this wave, even though when it's down here it's different than when it's up here. But the fact that it's continual, then this particular meter can read these waves. Well, the magnetic waves that we produce with our high voltage, low frequency machines are waves that there's a burst of energy in a nanosecond burst at great energy levels similar to what an MRI will produce. So these waves shoot out and get up to the top and then drop straight off and stop. It's the stopping that makes them difficult to measure because there's no continuation that this thing can be locked to. All of a sudden this meter thinks, oh, it stopped, so here's the reading. So wherever it picked up in that wave shot, could be down here, could be up here, could be anywhere, is what it produces. And so in what people have done and what some companies have done, and I'm not saying they're doing it wrong because that's all they've had available to them, is to be able to say, oh, look, we got way up here, so that's our delivery. And then the next time they do it, it may be way down here. Well, that's not our delivery. We want the one that's way up here. And so it makes it difficult to measure these devices that start and stop with their Gauss output or energy output. There are engineers. The engineer that manufactures our devices really doesn't talk in Gauss. He talks in energy. He talks in frequency, being how often the signal is being delivered, and it's delivering massive amounts of energy to the area, and we're regulating it for comfort. We want to put as much energy in the area as we can comfortably. And so the body can adequately utilize that energy in a comfortable fashion to better set itself up, you've heard me say it before, to heal itself. So but that's how he talks, and that's how he prefers to talk. However, he has the meter, I have the meter that will measure the start and stop signals like we produce with the high voltage, low frequency equipment. Now, like anything else, when the meter was, what we've noticed is, and we've learned, and the meters are being rebuilt to better accommodate this, is that we can get to where it'll measure the Gauss output or the energy output, But what it also does, that we've corrected, is that once you establish that output, if you let the meter sit there and run, it will creep up. It will begin creeping up that amount of Gauss that's being delivered. And we've kind of determined that that's not really where it's at. Where it goes initially is where it is. And because it can be very consistent in that, but if you leave it on there over time, it will act like it's wanting to creep up. And that's an internal mechanism of the device. So they're rebuilding those devices, and I'm waiting for my new meter. I hope to have it any day so we can adequately measure again and tell you exactly what these machines are delivering. Now, with that being said, there you hear numbers all over the board. There's people out there talking about 40,000 Gauss, 10,000 Gauss, 20,000 Gauss, 50,000 Gauss. Then you've got companies dealing in 1,400 Gauss, 2,000 Gauss, all these different numbers. And it's been very difficult for anybody to really put a handle on what's right, what number is right. And one of my competitors is correct. There have not been meters to do this. We do have one, as I've said, and so we can do that. Some companies don't have these at their discretion to use. And so one of the things that we're hoping to do as we continue to fine-tune this process is to be able to say, look, these devices can be measured, and here is exactly what they are. And really, it doesn't make any difference. If everybody turns around and says, well, they're not as high as they said they were, but they're high enough and the results are excellent, I'm okay with that. And I think everybody else would be too. So that's just something that comes up when numbers are thrown out there. I mean, in fact, I saw an email the other day where someone was talking about 32.7 Tesla. That's 320,000 Gauss. Don't think that's the case. But it was in an email from a customer. What do you think about this? And this machine delivers, and you know, it 3.2 Tesla, I might go along with that someone could have a device doing that. But when they start talking, and that's 30,000 Gauss, which is way more than what anything, MRI machines like 14,000, 15,000, 17,000 Gauss in that area, depending on the machines. And that's constant signal that's being delivered, which, you know, you can only do for a certain amount of time because of the strength. So, a lot of issues there with Gauss. Let's see here. Any other questions, folks? Be sure to throw them out there. The Gauss thing, I hope that was clear enough. If it wasn't, please tell me, and I'll try to make sure that it's as clear as it can be, as I can wrap my head around. But there, people are all over the board with regard to Gauss, and my recommendation to people is not think about Gauss as much as they're thinking about energy, and that's what we're putting into the body at comfortable levels to better assist the body in healing itself and making the person feel well. And pretty simple when you talk about it like that, and as long as you get the results that you're looking for. Oh, to that end, saw a neat, and I think this can be game-changing, the meeting that I attended over the weekend is there's a company out in North Carolina that is perfecting, or they have a piece of software that they're considering, they're describing it, and it's interesting. There's a new program on television this week, solving crimes with crowdsourcing, to where you have people all over through the crowd give you suggestions for what's going on with something to help you solve crimes. And what these folks have developed, interestingly enough, is a piece of software that will allow you to crowdsource research, that you can set up people in various places who are all taking the same medication or all using the same machine, and you can say, okay, if you're all using this machine and you're treating this indication, do this, and you can keep track of your records or your treatments on this app as it's crowdsourced. And the neat thing about it is you can use it, and then in 3 hours you get a reminder from the app, okay, you took this medicine at this time, or you were treated with this machine at that time, this time, at this level. How are you feeling at this time 3 hours later? And then it'll come back in 6 hours and ask you the same thing. How do you feel at this time? And so you can, all of a sudden, you're creating all of this information. Now, it's not like you're talking about, but their plan is to be able to then let this information go to researchers that they can key in to their research, or they can now see how they might want to set up their research to better track how our devices and other devices really are working. I'm so excited about this. I can't really stand it, because research has been a big issue in many different applications of various devices over time. So I've got their card right here. I'm going to be calling them this morning and talking with them about how this can be utilized and to help us all with how we use our devices, the MagnaWave devices, to help our particular clients and customers. Okay, I don't see any other questions. I've been going now for about 40 minutes. I always enjoy being here, but I don't want to have you stick around any longer than you need to. I just want to be here to answer your questions, and then I have another meeting at 10 o'clock, so I need to get ready and head to that meeting. So folks, I really appreciate you being here with me this morning, and I look forward to, I'll be back at 2 o'clock today. If you've got some questions that you didn't have answered and you'd like to join us at 2 o'clock, please tune in, and I'll be here to answer those questions. If you'd like to shoot me a question, send me an email at, here, let me put this up here. Let's see. Let me put this up. If you'd like to send a question, send it to magnawave1 at gmail.com. It's easy to do, magnawave1 at gmail.com. You can call the office at 812-742-7868 if you have a question, or you can send me a question on Facebook Messenger, and I will certainly put these into the program. And then we're going to break all these programs and recordings up so we can provide bits of information for you all the time as we move forward. That's what we're all about, is transparency and communication. So again, thanks for being with me, and I look forward to talking with you later on today. Bye-bye.